10. The MIT Genius Who Wanted to Save the World. Before Sam Bankman-Fried became the face of one of the largest fraud cases in history, he was a math prodigy. Born in 1992 in Stanford, California, Sam grew up in a house full of academics. His parents were both law professors at Stanford, and from a young age, Sam showed signs of exceptional intelligence, the kind of kid who solved logic puzzles for fun and read physics textbooks before high school. At MIT, he majored in physics but spent most of his time gaming the system, not in video games but in finance. During college, he became fascinated with something called effective altruism, a movement that believes you should make as much money as possible so you can give it all away to do the most good. To Sam, it wasn't about yachts or Lamborghinis. It was about earning to give. He wanted to become a billionaire not to live like one, but to donate like one. It sounded noble, almost saint-like, and that moral halo would later help him build trust with investors, politicians, and celebrities alike. But there was another side to him, a traitor, heart wrapped in a philosopher, idealism. After graduating, he joined Jane Street Capital, a major Wall Street trading firm. There, he learned the art of arbitrage, spotting tiny price differences across markets and making millions off them. But while most people would stay and cash in, Sam left. He had bigger plans, to use his financial genius to change the world. Number 9. The birth of a crypto empire. Alameda Research and FTX. In 2017, Sam launched Alameda Research, a trading firm that specialized in cryptocurrency arbitrage. His big breakthrough came from a simple observation. Bitcoin was trading for a higher price in Japan than in the US, so he began buying Bitcoin cheap in America, selling it high in Japan, and repeating, over and over. That single strategy made him tens of millions in months. But Sam didn't stop there. In 2019, he founded FTX, a cryptocurrency exchange meant to be safer, smarter, and more transparent than its competitors. The pitch was genius. Unlike the shady, chaotic world of early crypto, FTX would be clean, professional, and ethical. And it worked. Investors loved it. Celebrities endorsed it. Politicians praised it. Soon, FTX was everywhere. From Super Bowl ads to partnerships with the Miami Heat, even renaming their stadium to the FTX Arena. Sam became the golden boy of crypto. With his messy hair, casual t-shirts, and nerdy charm, he was the anti-Wall Street billionaire, the guy who claimed to sleep on beanbags in his office and drive a Toyota Corolla. He promised transparency and safety in a world full of scams. By 2021, FTX was valued at $32 billion, and Sam's personal fortune topped $26 billion, making him one of the youngest billionaires in history. But behind the image of the ethical genius lay cracks that no one wanted to see. Alameda Research and FTX weren't as separate as Sam claimed. The trading firm and the exchange were deeply entangled, and that connection would later bring everything crashing down. For now, though, Sam was on top of the world. He was rubbing shoulders with lawmakers, appearing on magazine covers, and being called the J.P. Morgan of crypto. But just like J.P. Morgan's world of finance, his empire was built on trust. And trust is the first thing to vanish when money starts to disappear. 8. The face of effective altruism. Turned corporate savior. As FTX exploded in popularity, Sam Bankman-Fried didn't just become a businessman. He became a symbol. He claimed his mission wasn't just to get rich, but to save humanity. Through the philosophy of effective altruism, he pledged to give away most of his wealth to solve global problems like poverty and pandemics. He even founded the FTX Future Fund, which promised to donate hundreds of millions to world-improving causes. That image, the billionaire who didn't care about luxury, made him unstoppable. He lived in shorts, t-shirts, and sneakers. He played video games during Zoom calls with investors, and yet everyone wanted to work with him. Why? Because his philosophy made him look like a safe bet. He wasn't just another greedy crypto bro, he was the ethical billionaire. Major venture capital firms, from Sequoia Capital to SoftBank, threw in money without asking too many questions. Some investors even admitted later that they decided to fund FTX after a 2-hour call, while Sam played League of Legends during the meeting. That's how powerful his brand was. But the brilliance of Sam's PR wasn't accidental. It was strategic. He was shaping his image as the ultimate good guy of finance. He testified before Congress about crypto regulation, met world leaders, and became one of the biggest political donors in the U.S. In the 2022 election cycle alone, he spent around $40 million supporting mostly Democratic candidates, claiming he wanted responsible regulation. Behind the scenes, however, reports would later show that he quietly funneled just as much money to Republicans, trying to buy influence on both sides. He wasn't just playing the crypto game, he was playing the political one. The White House, Congress, the media, everyone trusted Sam. Some even whispered that he might one day become Treasury Secretary if crypto went mainstream. But in the same way he blurred the line between altruism and ambition, he was also blurring something else, the line between his company's money and his customers' money. And that line was about to collapse. 7. The Secret Life Inside the Bahamas Penthouse. While the world saw Sam as a humble billionaire who drove a Toyota Corolla, his reality in the Bahamas was a lot more complicated. He and about 10 close friends, many of them executives from FTX and Alameda, lived together in a $40 million luxury penthouse in Nassau. It wasn't just an office. It was their home, their headquarters, and, according to some insiders, their chaotic social bubble. They worked together, partied together, and even dated within the group. Reports later described the environment as a mix of Silicon Valley startup and college dorm, filled with whiteboards, caffeine, and crypto screens everywhere. Sam's ex-girlfriend, Caroline Ellison, who ran Alameda Research, lived there too. She later described the relationships inside as blurred, emotionally and professionally. No one really knew where friendship ended and business began, but that same confusion extended to money. The corporate structure was as tangled as the personal lives of those running it. FTX customer funds were being funneled to Alameda to cover risky trades and losses. When employees raised questions, they were brushed off. Sam believed he could always fix it later. He often told colleagues, "We'll make it back." The penthouse became a symbol, not just of excess but of delusion, a place where people who thought they were saving the world were quietly creating one of the biggest financial holes in history. They were building castles in the sky, backed not by real money but by tokens, leverage, and trust. And, like all castles built on sand, this one was destined to crumble. Still, during the peak of FTX's success, life looked perfect. Influencers visited, cameras rolled, and millions of users around the world kept putting their money into FTX. But no one knew that behind the curtain, billions of those dollars were already gone. 6. The tweet that started it all. In November 2022, the empire that once looked unshakable began to crack because of a single tweet. It came from CoinDesk, a crypto news outlet, which revealed a leaked balance sheet from Alameda Research. The numbers looked strange. It showed that a huge portion of Alameda's assets were made up not of dollars, Bitcoin, or any stable currency, but of FTT, the token created by FTX itself. In other words, Sam's two companies were propping each other up using the same imaginary money. That revelation sent shockwaves through the crypto world. If Alameda's wealth depended on FTT and FTX's value depended on Alameda, then neither company was truly solvent. It was a house of cards built on self-created tokens. Within hours, the biggest competitor of FTX, Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao, CZ, announced that he would be selling all of Binance SFTT holdings, worth over $500 million, due to recent revelations. That one statement was enough to trigger panic. FTT's value began to collapse, and FTX users rushed to withdraw their money, fearing the worst. But here's the twist. There wasn't enough money to give back. Customer deposits had been secretly used by Alameda for risky investments, and now those billions were gone. Within 72 hours, FTX faced what was essentially a digital bank run. Withdrawal requests poured in at a rate of billions per day. Sam, who was once considered the smartest man in crypto, was now scrambling for cash. He tried calling investors, competitors, even regulators, hoping someone would step in. At one point, he tweeted, "FTX is fine. Assets are fine." But within a day, that tweet became one of the most infamous lies in crypto history. Because the truth was far from fine. The hole in FTX's balance sheet was estimated to be over $8 billion. The entire illusion of stability had collapsed, and the internet was watching it unfold in real time. One of the fastest corporate implosions in history. Number 5. The Fall. From billionaire to bankrupt in 48 hours. If you blinked, you could have missed the downfall. On November 8, 2022, Sam Bankman-Fried was still a billionaire. By November 10th, he was broke. His companies were collapsing, his investors were panicking, and his reputation, once celebrated as the savior of crypto, was now in ashes. After Binance announced its plans to sell FTT, Sam reached out to CZ with a desperate proposal. "Help us." In an unexpected move, Binance agreed to acquire FTX and cover the liquidity crisis. The news calmed the market for about 24 hours, but then Binance backed out after reviewing FTX's internal data, calling the situation beyond our ability to help. When that deal fell apart, the dominoes fell fast. The value of FTT plunged to near zero. Customers couldn't access their funds. Regulators in multiple countries started investigating. Celebrities who had endorsed FTX, like Tom Brady, Larry David, and Naomi Osaka, were suddenly named in lawsuits. By November 11th, FTX, Alameda Research, and more than 130 affiliated companies filed for bankruptcy. Sam Bankman-Fried resigned as CEO. That same day, he tweeted a short message. "I'm sorry. I fucked up." But for millions of users who had lost their savings, those words meant nothing. What shocked everyone was how quickly it all happened. It wasn't a slow burn. It was a financial explosion. One of the biggest exchanges in the world vanished almost overnight, leaving behind billions in missing funds and a crater-sized hole in global trust for crypto. Sam went from rubbing shoulders with world leaders to facing one of the largest fraud investigations in American history, all within 2 days. And while the financial world tried to comprehend the scale of the disaster, Sam himself seemed strangely calm. He kept tweeting. He gave interviews. He even appeared on live streams from the Bahamas, claiming he didn't knowingly commit fraud. But those statements would soon come back to haunt him, because the world wanted answers, and the U.S. government was about to come knocking. Number 4. The arrest heard around the world. After the shocking collapse of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried tried to hold on to the last shreds of control. For weeks, he gave interview after interview, appearing calm and composed as if everything could still be fixed. He spoke at conferences, even via live stream, and told reporters that he didn't knowingly misuse funds. But behind the scenes, investigators were already piecing together what looked like one of the largest cases of fraud since Enron. The numbers were staggering. Billions of dollars in customer funds had allegedly been transferred from FTX to Alameda Research without permission. Those funds were used to make risky bets, buy luxury properties in the Bahamas, and even donate to political campaigns. It wasn't just financial mismanagement. It was potentially criminal. On December 12, 2022, the walls finally closed in. Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested by Bahamian authorities at his luxury penthouse in Nassau at the request of the U.S. government. The timing was surreal. He was scheduled to testify before Congress the next day. Instead, he was sitting in a jail cell. The charges were serious: wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering, and campaign finance violations. Each count carried decades in prison. The U.S. attorney called it one of the biggest financial frauds in American history. In the days following his arrest, photos of Sam in custody shocked the world. Gone was the confident, quirky billionaire in a T-shirt. Now he looked pale, disoriented, and scared. A fallen icon. His parents, both Stanford law professors, flew to the Bahamas to support him, but even they couldn't escape scrutiny. Prosecutors later accused them of being deeply involved in the family's financial dealings, raising questions about just how much they knew. Sam was soon extradited to the United States to face trial. The once celebrated crypto king now stood handcuffed before a federal judge. The same man who had once been invited to Washington to advise on crypto regulation was now being accused of breaking every rule in the book. The irony was almost cinematic. After posting a $250 million bond, one of the largest in U.S. history, he was released to house arrest at his parents' home in California. From there, he would await trial, while the rest of the crypto world tried to recover from the shock he had caused. Era 3. The trial that shook Wall Street and Silicon Valley. By the time Sam's trial began in late 2023, the world was watching every move. The courtroom was packed with journalists, former employees, and victims who had lost everything. The evidence was damning. Private messages, financial records, and insider testimony painted a picture of systematic deceit. The prosecution's argument was simple: that Sam had intentionally diverted customer deposits to fund Alameda Research's trading, investments, and lavish expenses. They claimed he lied to investors, manipulated balance sheets, and treated customer money like his own piggy bank. But the real bombshells came from inside his own circle. Caroline Ellison, his former girlfriend and CEO of Alameda, took the stand and testified against him. She claimed that Sam had personally directed her to use FTX customer funds to cover losses. Other key executives like Gary Wang and Nishad Singh also pleaded guilty and described how Sam orchestrated the flow of billions. Sam's defense argued that he was simply in over his head, that FTX's collapse was due to poor management, not intentional fraud. They painted him as an overwhelmed genius who made mistakes but never meant harm. But jurors didn't buy it. The emails, spreadsheets, and testimony told a different story. One of arrogance, deception, and total disregard for responsibility. Throughout the trial, Sam sat quietly, sometimes taking notes, sometimes shaking his head. He still insisted he was misunderstood, that he never stole money. But, as one prosecutor put it during closing arguments, Sam Bankman-Fried lied to investors, lied to customers, and lied to the world. He thought he was smarter than everyone else, and now the truth has caught up. The jury deliberated for only a few hours before delivering their verdict. Guilty on all counts. Each charge carried a maximum sentence of 20 years, and combined, he was facing over a century behind bars. For the once beloved genius who promised to change the world, his empire had ended in disgrace. 2. The aftermath. Billions lost, lives shattered. When the dust finally settled, the numbers were almost impossible to comprehend. Over 1 million customers had been affected by FTX's collapse. Some lost their entire life savings. Others lost homes, businesses, or retirement funds they had stored in what they believed was one of the safest exchanges in the world. It wasn't just investors in crypto. It was everyday people who trusted the image of Sam Bankman-Fried as the ethical billionaire. The shockwaves reached far beyond crypto. Venture capital firms like Sequoia Capital and SoftBank wrote off hundreds of millions in losses. Major celebrities and athletes who had endorsed FTX were dragged into lawsuits. Even politicians had to return campaign donations tied to Sam's money. Overnight, FTX had become a symbol of everything wrong with modern finance. Hype over substance, charisma over accountability. But the collapse also sparked something deeper: a reckoning. Regulators worldwide began cracking down on cryptocurrency exchanges, demanding transparency, audits, and consumer protection. In a sense, Sam's downfall became a turning point for the entire industry, a brutal wake-up call. And yet, amid all this devastation, Sam's parents still defended him. They argued that he had good intentions, that he simply made mistakes. But for the victims who lost everything, good intentions weren't enough. As one investor said during a congressional hearing, "We trusted him because he said he was different, but he was just another liar in a hoodie." To make matters worse, the FTX bankruptcy process revealed how chaotic things truly were. Account records were missing, billions in crypto had vanished into digital wallets that couldn't be traced, and key systems had no proper oversight. The new CEO brought in to clean up the mess, John J. Ray III, who also handled Enron Enes liquidation, said bluntly, "Never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls." For many, that single statement summed up the entire saga. FTX was not just a company that failed. It was a warning about what happens when ambition, ego, and unchecked power collide in the digital age. Maki 1. The sentence: From Crypto King to Cautionary Tale. In March 2024, after months of speculation, Sam Bankman-Fried finally stood before a federal judge in New York for sentencing. The courtroom was silent as victims gave emotional statements. One woman said she had lost her child's college fund. Another described working 2 jobs just to recover from the financial devastation. Their voices made it clear. This wasn't just numbers on a screen. It was real pain caused by real betrayal. Prosecutors demanded a long sentence, arguing that Sam's actions weren't accidental but deliberate. He knew what he was doing, they said. He built a facade of virtue while stealing from the people who trusted him most. Sam's defense team, meanwhile, begged for leniency, describing him as socially awkward, idealistic, and misguided rather than malicious. In the end, the court was not persuaded. Sam Bankman-Fried was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. The judge told him, "You were given every opportunity to do good with your wealth and brilliance, but you chose deception." As the verdict spread across the world, reactions were divided. Some called it justice. Others said it was too light for the scale of his crimes. But everyone agreed on one thing: the era of "trust me, I'm the genius" in crypto was over. From being the face of a $32 billion empire to sitting in a prison cell, Sam's story became one of the most dramatic downfalls in modern history. His messy hair, nervous smile, and idealistic words once inspired millions. Now, they serve as a cautionary symbol of how quickly brilliance can turn into disaster. What's perhaps most haunting is that Sam never admitted guilt. Even after the sentencing, he claimed he was misunderstood, that he made mistakes but didn't steal. To this day, some of his supporters still believe that. But for most, the truth is simpler. He played with trust, and trust is the one currency you can never counterfeit twice. Sam Bankman-Fried's journey wasn't just about crypto. It was about the illusion of integrity in the age of greed. Yet his fall reminds us that even the smartest minds can lose themselves when ambition outruns ethics. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories like this. Join our community for exclusive insights, behind-the-scenes content, and deeper dives into the rise and fall of modern icons. And if you'd like to support our work directly, click Thanks below. Every bit helps us bring you more fascinating stories from the hidden corners of history and finance.